volkov versus struve. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Tabit Gutai versus Andrew Holbrook. To me, Tabit Gutai is shit. You know, he's 0-3 in the UFC, and he looks like he just gets dominated in all three of those fights. I think Andrew Holbrook is, he's pretty good. His only big weakness is when he gets caught really early, but I feel like the longer the fight goes, the stronger he gets. I think he's got decent striking and a really good jiu-jitsu game, and I think he's just going to be able to take Gutai down and win by submission. Next is Bojan Mikhailovic versus Abdullah Eldor. These guys have all crazy European names, but I think Albu looks really good. I think he's got really good striking. He's really good with his takedown game, and when he takes you down, he takes your back pretty easy. Bojan just looks like a striker, and that's about it, and he doesn't even look like an amazing striker. He just looks like he's okay overall, in my opinion, but I think Albu looks pretty good. I think he's going to be able to throw some strikes, get this fight to the ground. I think eventually he's going to take his back and win by rear naked choke. Next is Mike Santiago versus Zabit, and I'm not even going to try to say this guy's last name. Zabit looks like a really solid Russian up-and-comer. He's got good striking, good jiu-jitsu. But I don't know how good the opponents he fought were, even though he looks really good. As for Mike Santiago, I saw him on the Ultimate Fight, not the Ultimate, but the Dana White Looking for a Fight Contender Series, whatever it is. And he looked really good. He looks like he's got good jiu-jitsu, good striking, and he has a really strong forward pressure game where he tries to gas people out and just light them up slowly. And I'm going to go with Mike Santiago just because I've seen him fight and I know what he can do. He doesn't look like he has any holes, and he looks like he has really good conditioning, and I like the way he moves forward and throws combinations. So I'm going to go with Mike Santiago. I say he wins by TKO or submission late second. Next is Francimar Barros versus Alexander Relic. I'm not even sure if I'm saying this guy's name right, but Alexander looks like he's a really, really good striker. But once again, it's hard to tell with these guys because I don't know how good the people they're fighting are when they're fighting in Europe. They might just be fighting strikers versus strikers. And Francimar Barros, to me, he's not the greatest fighter ever, but he's fought a lot of good people, and I feel like his wrestling and striking mixed together can beat a lot of these no-name guys. And even though I think they think Alex is a good up-and-comer because he's got a lot of knockout wins, I'm going to go with the guy who I feel like I've seen fight more and is just someone I can put more trust in. And I'm going to go with Francimar Barros. I say he weathers an orderly storm and just wins by decision or gets a late submission in the third. Next is Rustam Khabilov versus Desmond Green. And Desmond Green looked really, really good in his UFC debut, but that was against a guy who, was just not okay, but just above average in my opinion. To me, Rustam Khabilov is really, really good at taking fights to the ground and controlling people. And Desmond Green's biggest weakness is he doesn't have a lot of KO power. Even though he's a really good striker and pretty good wrestler, he's just not a great finisher. He's only got like 4 or 5 finishes of his 20 wins. And I feel like if this is a grinding fight, which is just kind of point fighting, I think Rustam Khabilov is just going to be able to take this guy down over and over again and probably win a decision. Next is Michael Pizarris versus Mads Brohel. And to me, Michael Pizarris, I don't even understand why he's fighting this guy. This guy's like a generic jiu-jitsu guy who looks like he would be good fighting a no-name guy just like who he is. But Michael Pizarris is like 7-1 in the UFC. And I mean, he's just going to run through this guy. I feel like he's the much better grappler overall, and I think his striking is probably going to be way better too. And that's just what I see happening. I think Michael Pizarris is just going to light this guy up and win by first round finish. Next is Mirbek Taisumov versus Felipe Silva. And Mirbek Taisumov is really, really good too, just like how Michael Pizarris is. Taisumov's like 5-1 or 6-1 in the UFC with a ton of knockouts, and I feel like he's fighting another no-name guy, just like how Michael Pizarris is. And it doesn't make any sense. I feel like he should be fighting some real upper-level people at this point. But I guess because they don't think he's a big name yet, they want to give him another random person. Felipe looks like a pretty good striker jiu-jitsu guy, but I just think Taisumov is way better. And I think he's going to win by knockout. Taisumov's going to win by knockout in like the second or third round. Next, we got Darren Till versus Bojan Mikhailovic. And to me, Bojan isn't that great. I thought he was losing that last fight against Nico Masok. I think he just caught him right at the very end. I think that Darren Till's really, really good. I mean, I think he has one loss, if that. I mean, I think he has that one draw against, I can't remember that guy's name, but it was a fight where he was dominating and then he broke his arm and lost the third round 10-8. But aside from that, I think He's undefeated. And he's a really good striker, and I feel like as long as he doesn't get injured, he should be the much better striker, and his takedown defense is really solid. And I feel like he's just going to be able to light Bojan up, and I think Darren Till is going to either win by decision or get a late knockout. On the main card, we got Leon Edwards versus Bryan Barberena, and this is really tough because Leon Edwards has been looking really good recently, but I still don't think he's amazing. And Bryan Barberena is like the prospect killer. I feel like he's really good at throwing high volume, stuffing takedowns, and getting back up once people take him down. And I feel like Leon Edwards is relying a lot more on his wrestling nowadays, but the problem is that he's able to take people down. They're not good at getting back up. So I don't know how his conditioning is going to be when it comes to repeatedly taking people down, because that's really hard. Like, some people can do that easy, but Leon Edwards is primarily a striker, but it's kind of like blitz, long punch striking, or he'll try to out-wrestle you a lot. And I don't think he's going to be able to continuously take Barberena down. And I think Bryan Barberena's high-volume striking is going to eventually, wear on Leon Edwards. And I think Bryan Barberena is going to get like a third-round knockout just because he's going to manage his energy better throughout the 3 rounds. Next, we got Marion Renault versus Tilatina Berdona. And to me, Berdona looks like she's just okay. She's taking this fight on super short notice, and that's my biggest thing, is that Marion Renault had the full training camp for this fight, and I think Marion Renault's pretty good. And Bardano, she just looks okay. I think Marion Renault's going to take her down, beat her up, and win by submission. Next, we got Siar Bahazarada versus Rob Wilkinson. And Rob Wilkinson looks like a really, really solid prospect from Australia. He's got good striking, good jiu-jitsu. I think my biggest fear with Siar Bahazarada is that he's super inconsistent with his activity. He fights like once a year, and I'm not sure if it's injuries or what, but he's just not active. And even though I think he has a pretty well-rounded game, it's hard to really put faith in somebody that's like, And his takedown defense isn't that great. I just feel like his offensive grappling is pretty good, but I'm going to go with Rob. He's young. He's 11-0, and he looks like a really good prospect. And like I said, if CR fought more regularly and I could see his skills more often, then I would pick him. But I just think unless CR catches him with a big bomb pretty early, which he could, his boxing is really good, I think Rob's going to be able to take him down and control him and win a decision. Finally, we got the main event, Alexander Volkov versus Stefan Struve. And this is just like the last fight, where Stefan Struve is just so inconsistent with how often he comes out. I know he was really sick at one point in time, and he just got over it. But still, he's gone 3-1 in his last 4, and to me, his very last fight he looked really good, but that was about a year ago. And then the 3 fights before that, he lost to Jared Rosholt, where he just didn't really do anything, and then he beat Nogueira, but he didn't look impressive. And then he got that really quick knockout over Bigfoot. But Bigfoot had been knocked out so many times at that point that wasn't that impressive in my opinion. As for Alexander Volkov, he just beat Roy Nelson, and Roy Nelson has a win over Stefan Struve. And he also beat that other guy who fights exactly like Roy Nelson, who I can't remember his name. I feel like his takedown defense has been looking better and better. And I think his ability to get back up has also been improving in Alexander Volkov. I think striking-wise, they're probably about even. Struve's probably got a little bit of reach, but he doesn't use that very well. But I think the biggest thing is the power. I think Volkov's got the big power advantage. If Struve could take this to the ground, I think he'd submit him, but I don't think he'll be able to take him down. And I think even if he does, Volkov, I think, will be able to survive. I also think Volkov is the much better conditioned fighter. He's gone into the 3rd and 4th round and still look pretty conditioned to me. So I think that as long as he can get through like that first round or 2, Volkov should be able to win by like 3rd or 4th round knockout. And that's how I see it. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.